This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight, workplace death. A 19-year-old woman dies while on the job at a Halifax Walmart.
Election results. Voters choose some fresh faces in municipal races across the province.
And homework help. A free tutoring service that started in Halifax plans to go Canada-wide.
A bit of a cool down set for Tuesday, but another lovely day across the province. Temperatures back into the record-breaking territory on Wednesday. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. Halifax Regional Police are investigating the circumstances of a sudden death of a young woman who was working at a Walmart in the city's West End.
It happened on Saturday evening, but as Nicholas Seguin tells us, police have not yet said whether they believe the circumstances of her death are criminal in nature.
The Halifax Sikh community is mourning the loss of a 19-year-old woman who died working at this Walmart on Mumford Road. Halifax Regional Police say they responded to a call around 9:30 Saturday evening and found the woman dead. No cause of death has been released, and police won't say where in the store she died. The Maritime Sikh Society Board says the young woman worshipped at this Gurdwara off Purcell's Cove Road, and her loss will be felt deeply.
It's pretty distressing that young people come here with all kind of hopes and dreams, and they are working hard, and then this is what happens.
Walmart says the store is closed until further notice as they cooperate with police.
Our investigators are working with the Nova Scotia Medical Examiner Service and Occupational Health and Safety to determine the manner and cause of death.
A forensic identification unit was parked outside the store today. Cromwell says while that unit is on scene, police investigators and other partner agencies like Occupational Health and Safety cannot access the store to preserve the evidence. Cromwell says it's too early to say whether the death involved a crime. He says though rumors are swirling online, he encourages people to be respectful.
We just want to encourage the public to be patient with our investigation and be mindful that there is family members and co-workers involved, so we asked that they be mindful of their thoughts.
Walmart wouldn't share any more details about the employee, including how long she had worked at the store or if support will be provided to her family. The corporation says it is supporting its staff with 24/7 grief counseling. Nicholas Sagan, CBC News, Halifax.
The municipal election saw new mayors and councillors elected throughout Nova Scotia this weekend. There was a real theme of change across the province with some upsets and lots of fresh faces, including a new mayor in Halifax. The CBC's Haley Ryan has more.
Okay, hey everybody, nice to see you. My goodness gracious, what a beautiful, beautiful evening this is.
Andy Fillmore won the race for mayor of Halifax on Saturday night. The former Liberal MP and city planner campaigned on improving traffic, freezing the tax rate, and not opening new homeless encampments.
This election for me was really about how we manage our growth to make sure that it works for all of us and not against us. And that was the deciding factor.
The race for mayor was crowded with 16 candidates. Halifax councillor Wayne Mason finished second.
And while I may not be your next mayor, I'm going to continue to work on behalf of the people of HRM in other capacities, just as I did before I ran for mayor.
It's the first time in 12 years Halifax will have a new mayor, after Mike Savage did not reoffer. Fillmore will be joined by 7 new councillors at City Hall, nearly half of the 16 seats. Over in the Cape Breton Regional Municipality, residents voted in a familiar face. Former provincial cabinet minister and CBRM mayor Cecil Clark reclaimed the mayor's seat after losing the 2020 election.
My heart is in this island, and my passion is for this place, and we will continue to work and strive for prosperity and find a place for all. I can't wait to get to work.
The small town of Annapolis Royal hit a historic milestone. The mayor and council will be all women for the first time, which is unique across the province. 14 new mayors were acclaimed or won open races, but there were also some upsets. Amherst saw David Cogan lose to former mayor Rob Small, and in Wolfville, councillor Jody McKay beat sitting mayor Wendy Donovan. In the district of Lunenburg, business owner Elspeth McLean-Weil unseated longtime mayor and former provincial cabinet minister Carolyn Bolivar-Getson. Voter turnout ranged from about 30 to 65% across the province. Most councils will be sworn in later this month or in early November. Haley Ryan, CBC News, Halifax.
Well, the weather certainly did not hold anyone back from getting to the polls yesterday. Or on the weekend, rather. It was gorgeous.
Oh, absolutely. And the leaves, everything is just perfect fall weather.
You can't ask for more. In fact, records broken today across parts of the province. Tom and Amy, we set a record at the Halifax airport. We also set a record down in Shelburne. The Keji site set a record, and Malay Falls in the Sheet Harbour area. Those all were record-breaking temperatures today for this October 21st, and a good chunk of the province here obviously very close to record-breaking territory. Now, a bit of a cool down coming tonight. Quick moving front will basically change our wind direction. Not expecting any showers from that, but the winds to northerly tomorrow. And so around this area of high pressure, the winds becoming light into the afternoon, but still enough of that northerly flow through the first half of the day to keep temperatures cooler than where they were today, no question. Around 12 to 14 degrees right along the Northumberland shore and into Cape Breton. We'll squeak back into the 16, 17, 18, maybe 19 degree range down into the south and west as those winds do become lighter. Still well above where we should be for this time of year, around 12 for most of the province, but yeah, not as warm as today. But as we move into the Wednesday time period, the winds shift back to southerly, and we're back into record-setting territory on Wednesday and perhaps even on Thursday before this front brings us a big old reality check. We'll talk about that with your 7-day forecast coming up.
Yeah. I guess we're due for that.
Yeah, stay tuned. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
Well, you probably have an old phone collecting dust in a drawer somewhere in your home. It might be tempting to just toss it in the trash, which might be more dangerous than you think. As Juliana Grillo reports, the battery inside many common electronics can start fires if it is not disposed of in the right place.
Picture this. On your morning commute, you're stuck behind a garbage truck. Suddenly, it catches fire. It's very possible that the fire was caused by a phone, laptop, or another device that uses lithium-ion batteries. Here's why you shouldn't toss them in the trash. Turns out, there have been 4 minor garbage truck fires in Halifax over the last year caused by these batteries. Landfills are at risk too. I talked to a fire chief who responded to a landfill fire recently. Danny Patterson, fire chief at the rural community in Nova Scotia, remembers 4 others in the last few years. The hazard usually comes when the battery is crushed. Inside these batteries, there are positive and negative conductors known as anode and cathode electrodes. When the battery is crushed, these might come into contact with each other, causing the battery to increase its temperature through a process known as thermal runaway. And since bulldozers are used in landfills and garbage trucks have compactors, well, you know what can happen next. These fires are no joke.
Managing solid waste shouldn't be a situation where people are put into danger, and they are too often. And it's just a matter of a careless move by a resident could dramatically impact somebody's health.
And in some cases, they can impact local communities as well. The landfill in Chester, on Nova Scotia's South Shore, has caught fire twice in the last 6 months. Lithium-ion batteries were suspected both times. In one of those cases, the municipality had to issue an air quality index for control as the fire burned through the waste in the landfill and produced toxic smoke. Making matters worse, the water used to put out the fire became contaminated when in contact with the waste, so it had to be treated to avoid leaching into nearby ecosystems. So doing your part in the disposal of such batteries is important. You can visit calltorecycle.ca or recycleyourbatteries.ca to find out the nearest location for battery disposal. I spoke with a professor at Dalhousie University who says municipalities should explore other options for accessibility.
We have yearly pickups for metal and, big things like refrigerators and stuff. Maybe there needs to be a yearly pickup for your batteries. You put them in a bucket and you put them out on the street and they get picked up.
All experts agree on one thing. Proper battery disposal can prevent harm to people, the environment, and perhaps one day, that garbage truck you're stuck behind in traffic. Juliana Grillo, CBC News, Halifax.
A proposed settlement could see 3 tobacco giants pay out billions of dollars to provinces and thousands of smokers. And a Halifax lawyer involved in the case calls the nearly $25 billion deal historic.
There's not a case in the world that has compensated victims of tobacco smoking. And so there was an American U.S. settlement back in the mid-1990s, and that only included for states. In this one here, in Canada, we've actually developed a process to compensate individuals, not only the provinces and territories, but individuals with respect to smoking. And this has never been done before.
Wagner says smokers who were diagnosed with throat cancer, lung cancer, or COPD gold standards 3 or 4 between March 8, 2015 and March 8, 2019 may qualify for compensation.
The first 8 people moved into a temporary housing village in Sydney today. Before their arrival, invited guests were given a tour of the facility. It features 35 shelters made by the U.S. company Payout. The village will now be operated by New Dawn in partnership with the Ally Centre of Cape Breton.
I think it's both emotional and incredible because we know that although we're helping 35 folks today, there's still so many more people that need help and need agency. So as well as it being a joyful day, we're going to live with the victories we get because sometimes they're far off. We're living with the victory, but we're full aware that there's a lot more work that needs to be done to help people in the community.
There's also an outdoor seating area and a separate building which houses washrooms and a kitchen and a common room. There will be village staff on site 24 hours a day. Those living there must also follow a set of rules, which includes a quiet hour and no guests within the units.
Our neighbours in New Brunswick are voting today in a provincial election. Progressive Conservative leader Blaine Higgs is hoping to win a 3rd term in office. If he succeeds, he'll be the first to do it since Liberal Frank McKenna in 1995. Higgs faces Liberal Party leader Susan Holt and David Kuhn, the leader of the Green Party. Higgs secured a majority government in the last provincial election in 2020. Voter turnout in New Brunswick in the last 2 elections was between 66 and 67%.
Hundreds of frozen waffle products sold in Canada and the U.S. have been recalled over fears of listeria exposure. The waffles are made by U.S.-based Treehouse Foods, but the recall traces back to an inspection at a Canadian production facility in Brantford, Ontario. The affected brands include Walmart's Great Value, Loblaws No Name, the Sobeys Compliments brand, and the Selection label sold by Metro. There have been no confirmed reports of illness linked to the products.
A Halifax nonprofit that offers free tutoring for students is now planning to expand across the country.
The group does sessions over Zoom and has already helped thousands of kids. As Gareth Hampshire reports, the plan now is to set it up in other parts of the country.
It began as a concept she came up with at home during the pandemic to help kids in Nova Scotia through a difficult time. And a few years later, the plan is to help more kids in more places.
When we started this nonprofit, I was 18 years old. It was an idea that I had sitting in my bed one night thinking about how we could support the community during COVID-19.
This is the program she founded that offers free tutoring sessions held on Zoom that are booked online. She realized even after the pandemic restrictions were lifted, families still needed the support.
Obviously, teachers are doing such a phenomenal job, but it is just a fact that the school system here in Nova Scotia and school systems across Canada are overburdened.
13-year-old Azyla Malik is one of about 5,000 students in Halifax who've used the service, in her case, to help with math.
So I was struggling a lot with fractions and stuff. So then I found this website and it was really helpful.
She likes that the tutors, who all go through a vetting process, are on camera in the sessions.
Because if you don't see the person, you don't really have like a visual understanding. So it's easier if you see the person and they explain it well.
It was her mum who found out about the service through the school.
It was her curriculum night and we were in the classroom and asking for teacher for help because she was very shy.
Studies the organization has done are showing encouraging results.
We can really tell that students are more excited to go to school and they're feeling better about their academic outcomes, which to us is a huge impact and a huge achievement.
Alberta, BC, and Ontario are all provinces the nonprofit is looking at next. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Halifax.
There's a beautiful spot. That's Johnson River Falls. Hear the water just rushing there.
And I bet this weekend lots of people hiked around the falls.
Yeah, Ryan's up next.
Well, the weekend weather, the
wow.
summer-like weather. Anyone get a suntan or what?
No, but today you could have, I think.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Everybody should have got lots of yard work done.
No excuses.
No way.
No excuses. No, actually, Tom and I were talking about cutting the grass, thinking...
Never ends.
Yeah, for sure. Thinking the last time was the last time, but now hopefully this was the last time.
So true.
Yeah, but yeah, it was definitely a beautiful weekend. Hopefully everybody got out and enjoyed. And maybe even the next couple of days, if you can squeak out for an extended lunch period, because it's going to continue to be really, really nice.
That's pretty nice.
That is gorgeous.
Live shot right now, Peggy's Cove, always a busy spot. Doesn't matter the time of year, but a beautiful spot to check out the sunset tonight. And yes, just terrific. Temperatures out there right now, still 17 degrees in and around the Peggy's Cove area. We've got temps a bit cooler, obviously in through the northeast, but overall it is going to be continue to be really nice. Still 20 degrees at Western Head right now. That, again, was one of the spots we did set a daily record for today. Now, as we look at those winds, for the most part, in from the southwest today, which was helping to bump those temperatures up. And yeah, moving forward, what we're going to be looking at is a wind shift on the other side of that cold front. That's going to move through tonight. This area of high pressure is going to reinforce that northerly flow, and so certainly a bit of a setback temperature-wise tomorrow, but still very nice. Then we've got this cold front here, and ahead of it, the surging southerly winds, which are really bumping up temperatures. Nearly 30 in Minneapolis, as you can see, 27 in Chicago, -1 and -2 Edmonton, Calgary. It's been snowing in Alberta today. You gotta love this time of year, right? Winter forcing in, summer not quite done yet. And so, yeah, lots of temperature fluctuations in the coming days. This is Tropical Storm Oscar, formed in a hurry. In fact, became a hurricane over the weekend in very, very short order. 24 hours, basically went from nothing to a hurricane with very, very warm temperatures here in the Atlantic. It is impacting Cuba here with some very heavy rainfall, also impacting with the western edges of Haiti. And as we work our way through the next couple of days, note that we are going to be watching that storm to move off to the north, but it is going to dissipate as we move into the Thursday time period. It'll dissipate as it gets gobbled up by a new forming mid-latitude cyclone, basically a big old weather system that's coming off the eastern seaboard. Well, that cold front I just showed you, in fact, slicing through the prairies and the plains of the U.S. is going to pick that storm up. It's going to be absorbed, and I'm going to show it to you here in the long-range forecast. Temperatures tonight, 9, 10, 11 degrees. And as we look into the forecast moving forward, we are going to be talking about temperatures tomorrow morning, 8 to 11 to start. So not too shabby, as we said. And then as we move our way into the afternoon, still a northerly flow, Cape Breton, Northumberland Shore, but a lighter wind here. This will allow temperatures to bump up into the afternoon. Where that onshore wind is still light but persistent, it is going to be keeping temperatures in just the 11 range. Port Hood, Cheticamp, Inverness, down into the interior parts around the River Lake should be around 14 for tomorrow. Looking at a beautiful day across the mainland, 13 to 16. Should squeak up towards 17 right downtown and then back into the Bridgewater area as well. And this will be our hot spot again tomorrow with this light wind. Temperatures 19 degrees likely in around the Yarmouth and Kedzie areas. Now back to a southerly wind on Wednesday, and this is why I think we have a pretty good chance of seeing some records broken again on Wednesday. Now, the potential is there to set a record on Thursday as well. The timing of this front is going to be so key, but it does look like we're going to be warm enough for long enough to see those temps nice and warm. And then there's this trough picking up this low. Again, the remnants of Oscar in here somewhere, but essentially this is a big fall system. Going to miss us, but skirt maybe the eastern areas of the province with some wet weather on Thursday. Certainly we're all going to see showers, but maybe some steadier downpours for eastern areas. Either way, on the backside of this system, a big reality check with maybe even some flakes over the highlands on Sunday, Tom and Amy.
Yeah, we are due, I suppose.
All
okay,
right.
thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, tobacco giants could pay out billions of dollars to provinces and smokers in a historic proposed deal. Three tobacco giants are proposing to pay close to $25 billion to provinces and territories as part of a corporate restructuring process triggered by a long-running legal battle. A proposed plan of arrangement was filed in an Ontario court last week after the company spent more than 5 years in negotiations with their creditors. For more on this, I'm joined by Halifax lawyer Ray Wagner. So for context, can you describe the significance of this proposal?
Well, it's extremely significant. There's not a case in the world that has compensated victims of tobacco smoking. And so there was an American U.S. settlement back in the mid-1990s, and that only included for states. In this one here, in Canada, we have actually developed a process to compensate individuals, not only the provinces and territories, but individuals with respect to smoking. And this has never been done before.
Well, how many people are we talking about?
Well, potentially there are millions of people that are smokers, as you know, and so everybody's going to be impacted in some way by this settlement in terms of how this is going to go ahead. There's compensation that'll be for a Quebec group, and then there's a national group that we represent called the Pan-Canadian Claimants, so PCCs.
Right. Well, what are the parameters for people who do qualify to receive some kind of compensation?
So there's two types of compensation. There's direct and indirect. So first on the direct, if you were a smoker and you smoked what we call 12-pack years, what a 12-pack year means, did you smoke a pack of cigarettes a day for 12 years? It could be interspersed, it could be one stretch, or it could be multiple times that you did that, but that's the first thing you have to do. And the date is 1998, so you had to smoke those before 1998. You're compensated within the period of time if you were diagnosed with lung cancer, throat cancer, COPD, gold standards 3 or 4, between March 8th, 2015 to March 8th, 2019, then you may be qualified as a direct claimant. And so if you passed on after 2019, your family, if you're otherwise qualified, will be able to seek that same compensation. Because it's such a massive amount of people, and the claims would be approaching $1 trillion when you take all the provinces and all the individuals together. And that would just shut down the industry, which is a good thing for a lot of people. That's not our business to do that or not, seek compensation. But all we would be left with is a bunch of cigarette rolling machines and a couple expired leases and stuff like that. So you have to do the doable. So what we tried to do is to get money into as many people as we possibly could. It's not perfect, but we, as I say, what was important for us is to do the doable, not the undoable.
So some people will be getting compensation directly, and when you mention indirectly, is that through the province and what they do, or how does that work?
Yeah, so the second part is for the indirect compensation. The people that, obviously we can't expand it to everybody that may have had another illness that they relate to smoking cancer. So we have what we call a CYPRES, C-Y-P-R-E-S, French word. And what that means is where you give indirect compensation to a group that it's not practicable to give it to spread it around, because there's just such a large group of individuals. So we put it there, and so that CYPRES is $1 billion, and that $1 billion will be used to provide programs, do research, that help the people that are not being directly compensated. For the direct compensation, it's $2.52 billion. $2.5 billion is going to be designated for those individuals.
So will those people be coming to your firm or have they already been designated? How does that work?
Well, because it's not been well known that we represent these individuals, we don't have any really a database, unlike the people in Quebec. What we have is, because we couldn't manage hundreds of thousands already. I know that in one situation they had 10,000 calls on Friday. We can't handle 10,000 calls, obviously. So we have a group called EPIQ, E-P-I-Q. And if you went to Tobacco Claims Canada, that is the group working as our agent. So if you call us, we'll direct you to the agent. And the agent has a full, there's a frequently asked questions, there's a website, and there's a phone line, and you can actually talk to live individuals that can give you information and register for this. If you want information, go to Epic, that's fine, and we'll register you, so when things happen, we'll be able to notify you through this, our agents. But you don't have to file claims because there's no claim period open yet. So be patient, get information, be informed whether you're in the group or not, and what your compensation levels. I think it would be a wise thing for members to do.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Well, the writ has not yet been dropped, but there are plenty of signs that point to an impending provincial election call.
It's the CBC's Jean Laroche and Michael Gorman look at the events of the last few weeks.
John, we're here in the Elections Nova Scotia warehouse, and it seems an appropriate place to be because for anyone even paying a little bit of attention lately, it sure feels like we're headed toward a snappy election.
Right. In law, the next election was fixed for July 15th of next year. Of course, there's enough wiggle room in that law to be able to call a snap election, and that's what we expect the Premier to do this week.
Right, and let's talk about some of the signals that we've seen in recent weeks. In particular, I'm thinking of two government announcements last week, both in opposition ridings. One was down in Yarmouth, where the government announced a one-year extension of the Yarmouth ferry contract. That effectively pushes that issue beyond the next election. The other was an announcement in Cumberland North, represented by independent MLA Elizabeth Smith-McCrossan, where the government announced some preliminary work related to the Shenectady Isthmus, although it's not really part of the big 10-year project that we're waiting on.
Right, but you can expect that both opposition parties will be hammering hard at what they see is the failure of the Houston government to live up to its singular promise, and that is to fix healthcare.
We are over 3 years into the mandate of a government that was elected on a single promise to fix healthcare, and by all statistics, healthcare is getting worse.
What we've heard from the Premier repeatedly over the past few years is, we didn't break it, but we're fixing it. Obviously, his pitch to voters will be, I need more time to get the job done.
We also got a little bit of a hint of what another one of his pitches may be when last week a new fundraising letter for the Tories was made public, clearly trying to tie Liberal leader Zach Churchill to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the very unpopular federal carbon tax. Tim Houston, as you know, is opposed to any type of price on carbon when it comes to consumers. And so he's going to try to play on the unpopularity of the Prime Minister during a provincial election.
Zach Churchill is a Trudeau Liberal. He's a member of Trudeau's party. He attends their fundraisings. And this Premier is more focused on attacking me and his political opponents than he is on helping the people that he was elected to serve.
Other issues that are likely to come to the fore, obviously affordability and, of course, the ongoing housing crisis. We saw Gary Burrell in the last election really try to get traction with that and didn't get the kind of oomph that the party thought it would. Claudia Chender likely to pick the ball up and run with that this time.
Coming up, blitzing the battleground states, Trump and Harris push for critical votes ahead of the U.S. election.
And Rogers customers call contracts misleading as fees for TV boxes increase without notice. Welcome back. Americans go to the polls 2 weeks tomorrow, and most observers are predicting a very tight race.
So the presidential candidates are out campaigning today in states that could go either way. Karen Pauls reports from Washington.
Former President Donald Trump toured storm damage in North Carolina, a swing state still digging out from Hurricane Helene.
Being here, that's quite a scene. Driving up, you see that kind of destruction. Actually incredible.
Catastrophic flooding and strong winds caused serious damage to power grids, water systems, and roadways. Recovery has been slow, and there's been misinformation and conspiracy theories saying the government is confiscating donations for hurricane survivors and diverting the funds to support migrants instead. Even as FEMA workers continue to face violent threats there, Trump criticized the government's emergency response.
Americans in this region felt helpless and abandoned and left behind by their government. And yet in North Carolina's hour of desperation, the American people answered the call, much more so than your federal government, unfortunately.
Vice President Kamala Harris is on a whirlwind tour of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. These states are supposed to be safe, part of what's known as the Blue Wall, but Trump flipped them in 2016.
Please welcome to the stage Vice President Kamala Harris.
Harris is taking part in discussions moderated by former Republican Representative Liz Cheney. Earlier, she appealed directly to conservatives and Republicans on the issue of women's reproductive rights.
I strongly believe one does not have to give up or abandon their own faith or beliefs to agree that not the government telling her what to do. If she chooses, she will consult with her priest, her pastor, her rabbi, her imam, but not the government. We've seen too much harm, real harm, happen to women and the people who love them around our country since that decision came down, including women who have died.
Appeals across party lines like that are important because new polls out today suggest the election is still too close to call. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Washington.
Former BC Premier Christy Clark has suggested she would be interested in replacing Justin Trudeau as Liberal leader if he stepped down. She told Radio-Canada she would, quote, like to be part of the discussion about the future direction of the Liberal Party and the country. She said she feels that polarized political views are standing in the way of solving various problems plaguing Canadians. This development comes ahead of a Liberal caucus meeting on Wednesday. In recent weeks, Trudeau has been facing mounting pressure from within his own caucus to step aside. Clark served as premier from 2011 to 2017.
New Israeli strikes in Lebanon have targeted a Hezbollah-linked financial institution. There were strikes on its buildings in several cities, including Beirut. The institution has more than 30 locations across Lebanon. Israel and the U.S. have accused it of being a cover for the Iranian-backed militant group to fund its activities. In northern Gaza, medics report 3 hospitals under Israeli siege. They report men being rounded up, women ordered to leave, and schools set on fire. Israel says it is operating against Hamas and its infrastructure. This comes as U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken heads to the region on another mission to end the conflict.
King Charles was confronted by a protester today on his visit to Australia. It happened in the Australian Parliament, and Australia's history around its Indigenous people was the issue. Anna Cunningham has the story.
Today has not exactly gone as planned for the King. He was attending the Parliament in Canberra, the capital of Australia. He had just given his speech and was sitting down when this happened.
Give us what you stole from us! Our bones, our skulls, our babies!
A protest from Lydia Thorpe. Now you will see from these images that she is dressed traditionally in possum animal skin cloak. She is an Indigenous rights activist, but she was in the Parliament in her capacity as an Aboriginal independent senator. And this is what she said. She accused the King of genocide against our people. She said, "This is not your land. You are not my king." Now this went on for about 1 minute before she was escorted out of the building. Lydia Thorpe also posted on social media, making her views very clear. This is what she said: "Not my king, treaty now." Now, she has been a long-time advocate for a treaty between the Australian government and its first inhabitants. There was no reaction from the king himself. Today was going to be the day when it could be difficult in terms of the history of Australia and its past being raised. He did talk briefly about it in his speech. He said that he had been shaped and strengthened by the traditional wisdom of First Nation communities. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
A group of top women's soccer players is protesting a new FIFA partnership. The sport's international governing body has reached a deal with a Saudi oil company to sponsor World Cup tournaments. The players say that partnership sends the wrong message. Sarah Levitt reports.
In this strongly worded open letter to FIFA's president, 106 international women's soccer players are saying this deal gives a middle finger to women's soccer. And now that middle finger is directed specifically at a deal that that soccer's governing body has made with an oil company called Saudi Aramco. It is majority owned by the government of Saudi Arabia. In the letter, the women say that it is unacceptable, that it goes against the values of soccer, particularly given Saudi Arabia's track record when it comes to human rights for women and, of course, for 2S LGBTQ plus people. They also have concerns about the environmental impact that this deal has, given that the company is an oil company.
I believe in the power of football and in sport in general to make the world a better place. But it's important that we stand up for those values, even if a sponsor offers a lot of money.
There are also Canadian signatories, including current Team Canada captain Jessie Fleming, as well as former Team Canada goaltender Aaron McLeod. And for McLeod, she says this is personal. She is openly gay.
Thinking of someone like to go watch those games would kind of not be an option, you know.
FIFA, in the meantime, has said that it has a human rights policy that's strict, that inclusivity is key, and they've made major efforts in that direction. They also released this statement. FIFA values its partnership with Aramco and its many other commercial and rights partners. Sponsorship revenues generated by FIFA are reinvested back into the game at all levels, and investment in women's football continues to increase. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
Some Rogers customers are going public with a complaint about the communications and media company. They are unhappy with fee hikes that were introduced after they signed 2-year contracts they thought came with a guaranteed price. The increase comes on the heels of last year's merger with Shaw, when Rogers promised to lower prices for customers. Erica Johnson reports.
This is the box.
Kathy Cooper has 6 TV boxes that give her and her family access to cable and streaming apps. So she wasn't happy to learn that Rogers was upping the monthly price on all but one of them by $7 a piece.
It's not right. They are gouging people, and people are hurting today.
Cooper signed a 2-year Rogers contract for TV and internet in June. Says she was guaranteed a price. But when she called to complain about her bills shooting up, a Rogers rep told her price guarantees do not apply to rental equipment, like TV boxes.
All I get is the same over and over again. We have legal right to charge for our equipment. That's it.
Other customers tell Go Public they too felt misled when they signed 2-year contracts, thinking the monthly price was guaranteed, calling it a cash grab and shady.
It's obviously a bait and switch here. So you sign up, you lock in, and then suddenly you're kind of out of luck.
This tech policy expert says it's unfair for Rogers to quote one price and charge another.
I think consumers have a very reasonable expectation that the terms of that 2-year contract aren't going to change in that time frame.
Rogers declined an interview request. In a statement, a spokesperson repeated Rogers is allowed to change the monthly rate to rent equipment and said the company was making record investments in technology. Canada's Competition Bureau opposed Rogers buying Shaw last year and says since the merger, it's received a significant number of complaints about price increases, although Rogers says its TV and internet bundles have come down 5%.
We are currently experiencing higher than normal call volumes.
Meanwhile, Cooper sent back 2 TV boxes to cut costs and, after complaining a lot, got a $315 credit.
She did look into canceling her contract, but the penalty for that, $720. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
Many people are still feeling the squeeze of years of high inflation, and some young Canadians are even turning to sharing their homes, cars, and even clothes to save money. Almost half of Canadians say rising prices are greatly impacting their ability to meet day-to-day expenses. The CBC's Crystal Lee Ramlakan has more.
I want to tell you about a woman that I spoke to. She's 31 years old and she has to share a place in Vancouver with 2 roommates just to afford the rent. Together they pay $3,300 a month, and yes, there's just 1 bathroom in that place. Now, expensive housing isn't uncommon in BC, but this is happening across the country. People searching for shared accommodations is up almost 12% compared to last year, and the number of listings for shared living spaces has increased 29%. Sharing a space has not always gone well.
So in 2020, I had a roommate who was going out and partying at a time when we were supposed to be limiting our contact with other people. It was not a situation I would have ever chosen to be in, but I couldn't afford to live on my own.
Another young person that I spoke to who had to change their living situation to help make ends meet is Julia Craig. She used to live in Toronto, but she actually moved away because it was just too expensive to live there. And now she shares a place in Calgary with a roommate.
It's not easy. I mean, I don't know how to say it in any nice way other than honestly, it sucks. I'm almost 30 and I feel like I am paycheck to paycheck, and yeah, it's tough.
And Craig is also doing something else to save money, renting expensive clothes for a cheaper price. She borrows from a business called The Fitzroy for charity events, which she attends for work. The business loans out higher-end quality clothes for special occasions like weddings or job interviews.
You still want to be able to participate in all these big major life events and not feel like, oh, I'm just wearing the same old thing again and again, So absolutely, young people who care about sustainability as well as affordability are definitely coming to us.
People are also sharing their cars to make a little extra cash. Car sharing companies are popping up in Canada. Michael Okoye is the founder of one in Winnipeg. It's called Rent Your Ride. And he says about 40% of the people that sign up and list a vehicle on his platform are doing so to make ends meet. Here's a story he shared with me about a person that's renting their car.
And they said that while their vehicle was listed on their platform, they were able to make enough money to make ends meet because at the time they didn't even have a job.
So people are being creative and innovative to save money, but is this sustainable? Well, experts say there needs to be structural change. They say government needs to step in to help make everyday life affordable for young folks. And there is some hope on the horizon. Economists are predicting that interest rates will continue to go down into next year, and that could help make some housing more affordable and make some debt payments a little less expensive. Crystal Lee Ramlakan, CBC News, Ottawa.
Canada's main stock index fell nearly 100 points today, while some U.S. stock markets also fell. Here's a look at the numbers as we head to break. I don't know about you, but I didn't get to spend enough time outside today.
You never could on a day like this.
What a day.
I know. These are the tough days because you look out the window and you think, you know, it's not many
when
left.
it's snowing, you don't want to be out at all.
Well,
It's
it's funny you should say that.
Oh,
So let's show our viewer. We got a couple of viewer pictures to show you today. Let's show you the first one locally, and of course this one taken over the weekend. The fall colors are just fantastic right now. Shuby Park.
Oh, that's so nice.
Pam Collins, and I mean the colors were just absolutely vibrant this weekend, along with the weather. So thanks to Pam for sharing Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Now, earlier in the program, I showed you this map. And yes, -1 in Edmonton, -2 in Calgary, and just up the road in Fort McMurray, it is also -2 right now.
Oh, wow.
And we've got some viewers there as well, because I just got this in my inbox.
Oh my goodness.
From
That's a
Ellen.
shock to the system, isn't it?
Oh.
Ellen,
I'm sorry, Ellen.
Yeah, we appreciate you watching, though, all the way from Fort McMurray. So thanks to Ellen for watching and for sharing. But yeah,
I guess that's the future.
Where's the shovel?
Yeah, that's right. So the air mass that's bringing that snow to Fort Mac is eventually going to work its way eastward. But we got a great day tomorrow. Tuesday, a bit cooler than today, no question. Temperatures ranging between 13 and 17 for most of the province. Again, coolest in the northeast with those onshore winds. Yarmouth near 19. And then for Wednesday, a southerly wind. So a bit cooler in the south and west. And temperatures will really bump up across the mainland. And we will certainly be flirting with a few records on Wednesday. And possibly again on Thursday with a few showers moving in with that front. The front slices through Thursday night, and you can see temperatures. The overnight low on Friday will basically be the daytime high. The morning low really won't get much warmer than that. And then it looks like that cold air mass will be reinforced Sunday with the potential for a few flakes in the highlands.
Oh boy.
Keep an eye out.
Yeah.
All right. A town in central Mexico has unveiled 14 giant Katrinas, or elegant skeletons, ahead of a Day of the Dead festivities.
Yes, they are the work of nearly 70 local artisans. The theme this year is Mexican historical figures dating back to Mexico's conquest by the Spaniards.
6 of the skeletons are set to travel abroad to cities like Rome, New York, Boston, and LA. Day of the Dead this year is November the 2nd.
Beautiful in their own right, aren't they? Spectacular.
Yeah.
That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.